I'm going to take a quick minute to zoom in on my birds. I just fed them, so they're all coming through. Good morning, birdies. I love them. I just love them. Alright, let's zoom back out. So, let me make this regular. I don't know. So, as you can see, I have lots of pots and all kinds of stuff out here I'm trying to situate. It's been a hectic spring. Well, spring is always hectic, but it's the good kind, right? So here's my garden. The sun it's just under 8 o'clock right now. So the sun is not, and it's actually maybe a little overcast here or something. It's not super bright out here. But it's early. Ooh, almost got hit by a bird. Anyway, let's look around here. I'm so excited. Guys, I love spring. This is when I'm in my best element, which actually brings me to the topic that I did want to talk about in this video, is that human beings, we are creators. We are meant to create. That's what we do. We are happiest, we are living our best lives when we are fulfilling a passion in creating. And I feel like people that don't have hobbies tend to get more depressed. And I was like that. I didn't have hobbies for a long time. My hobbies were going out and partying and being reckless. And I always loved to garden because my grandma gardened, but I never got into it until, I bought this house and I was able to actually make this space my own. So that's what I really want to bring to it today with that, because it is so incredibly important for our mental health to be doing something, not sitting around and thinking about doing something, physically getting into a project. One of my best friends, he suffers a little bit from depression, like we all do, right? But when I talk to him and I try to be helpful, I love him dearly. He's been my best friend since high school. Both me and my husband are very close with him, but he's not living his best life right now. And when I speak with him, I try to encourage him, and I try to tell him things that have helped me along the way. And one of the best things, biggest things, most important things is getting a hobby. And he didn't have a dad growing up, so I tried to ask him, well, what did your grandpa do? Because I find with myself, even though my mom wasn't always around, my grandmother always gardened. She always took me out into the yard and had me do little things with her. That was our bonding time, and it was so rewarding at the end of the day when it was in the middle of summer and the sun went down and we could sit on her back porch and watch the beautiful flowers and watch the hummingbirds come through. And that's some of my best memories that I have. So I tried to talk to my friend and say, well, what did your grandpa do with you? How did you spend time? Because if you have a fond memory of something, you might want to take up that hobby. And his grandfather actually used to build model planes, but these were like the dopest planes you can imagine. They actually flew. He would make remote controlled planes, and I've seen some of them, and they're so cool. They're pretty big too, actually. They're like big planes, like 4-foot long model planes that he could fly. So I suggested that to my friend, that because he has that fond memory of doing that with his grandpa, maybe he would want to do that too. And he's really not really receptive to my suggestion. So anyway, I'm gonna make this suggestion to the YouTube world. If you are dealing with some type of stress in your life, some type of anxiety, get your hands moving, get your hands into something. What I find, and I always call my garden, and I have called my garden like a meditation or a church, because when I'm getting into the groove of picking weeds, or if I'm getting into the groove to planting seeds in some type of repetition, it's almost like a prayer bead. I'm doing it, and my mind can turn off focus on the task at hand, and then I get some of my most inspired thoughts. They just come to me. And I believe, you know, it's the voice of the creator or spirit guides or angels, whatever you want to call it. I believe that when you turn your brain off and you get into a repetitive task, you have the ability to tap into the other side in some form or fashion. Aside from that, you know, hobbies can bring us so much joy. You know, I have the fish inside. I love them. They're having babies. They're doing these amazing things. They're getting so comfortable. They're making that fish tank their own. And I do believe that helped me through the winter, because the winter is tough here. I got my seeds growing inside now, of course. But in the coldest parts of the winter, the fish really helped me through the New Jersey winter blues. So now I'm actually going to take you into my garden, and we're going to see what's going on here. So you can see here, I made this trellis. I'm living for it. It is giving me such life. I have a super small footprint here, so I've looked to buy them online, and they're just too big. So I made this, and I don't want to say it was super cheap, but it really only cost me like maybe 40 bucks. We'll say 40 bucks. But I have lots of extra material. That being said, I did cannibalize one of my other trellises to create this top. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be growing purple pole beans in these 2 buckets here. We're going to be growing those, and they'll grow all the way up over and fill out this space here. It's going to be amazing. I'm super hopeful about it. Don't mind some of my mess, because I'm in here, you know, moving stuff around and collecting junk, as it were. So what we have here is I have my container set up. Now, some people are probably asking, why do you have these containers? What is going on? Well, I stumbled upon this cool YouTube channel called Robbie and Gary Gardening Made Easy, and they're out of Southern California. I definitely recommend it because they're awesome people, and they use these totes. They use these totes. They are inexpensive. They do the job great. And right here in this particular part of my garden, I have some serious drainage issues. This all actually, if we get a heavy rain, this all fills up. So I have planted in the ground, and I do actually do that other places in the garden, but right here I cannot do that. And you can even see it's all cracked. The ground is cracked there because this is clay soil. So that's another inconvenience, we'll call it. But anyway, this is what I do here. Yeah, they work really great. So right here I have some carrot seedlings popping up. They're going to be purple carrots. I love them. The butterflies lay their eggs on them, so that's amazing. Here I have some Merlot lettuce just starting to take off. There is more carrots over there and more lettuce over here. So another thing about this section of the garden is this only gets about maybe 5 hours of sun, so it's not good for certain crops, but it is good for those lettuce and carrots. Do really good over here. In the center here, aside from that bag of soil, don't mind that, I'm going to be growing sunflowers, so they will get tall enough where they can overcome the shade issue. So in this part, right where I have my little shovel head that I broke off, oh my god, too much gardening, that'll break your tools. Anyway, you can maybe see, maybe not see from the perspective of this video. This is actually higher, so this area I can plant. Normally I do tomatoes here, some beefsteak varieties. This area, my yard is so wild, I have like zones, right? So this area right here gets approximately 6 to 7 hours of sun. Maybe right here, this little dirt patch, I didn't compost that yet, so that's like, you know, just regular dirt. That probably gets 7 hours of sun. So as we move closer this way, we're getting more sun. So I will be doing, I might change it up this year because I'm feeling, I don't know, I'm feeling like I want to get out of the norm. So I might do cucumbers there. I might not, who knows. Right here I have my blueberry bushes. They are starting to put on their flowers, as you can see. I have tons of clusters of these flowers, so I am hopeful that I will be getting quite a few blueberries. I will have to cover this. I'm going to be covering this with some fabric once they set fruit, because otherwise the birds, critters, you know, all kinds of things will just come in and savage these plants. So I will be covering that. Here is my herb garden. This is some lemon thyme, looking amazing, super great. Started to put on new foliage, and it actually lasted all winter, so I was able to harvest that all winter. That back there is sage. That plant back there is actually lemon balm. So I try to incorporate things that are multiple uses. So obviously those are, you know, you could use all this stuff in cooking meals, but you can also use it to make tea, and I like doing that. Right here I have my yarrow. Super excited it's going to flower. Last year it did not flower, and I wasn't sure why. It could be because I moved it, and so it did not flower. But this year it looks like it's going to. So this year I also moved this trellis. Normally I had the opening facing this way. So this year I switched it up because this area will get close to 10 hours of sun. It's amazing. It's just in the sweet spot where it gets all day sun. So I'm actually going to be doing Kajari melons on this trellis, and I'm going to be planting them on this side. I composted it. Going to be planting them down that strip there, and then I will have a wee bit of walking space. Don't mind these poles. These are not a permanent fixture. I have a little tiny bit of walking space to step through into here. And this, I switched this up. I moved a lot of my perennial flowers out, and I will be doing cucumbers in the far edges there. Space Master, so they only get about 3 feet tall. I will probably have to add additional poles up the side there, but it shouldn't be a problem. And I'm gonna, this area also gets a ton of sun, so I'm expecting that to do pretty good. Here's one of my fountains. I have to move it and I have to refurbish it, but it's working, and when the sun hits it, I can actually probably make the sun hit it now, but I won't. So on the normal years, I had been growing cucumbers on this trellis and on this trellis, and they did okay. The first few years they did great, and then last year it's like the critters discovered them. So I had chipmunks eating them all. I had cardinals coming in picking off the cardinal birds coming and picking off the baby cucumbers. So last year I really, unfortunately, only had, like, I'm not kidding, like 5-6 cucumbers that actually made it into my house, into a salad. Normally I have enough cucumbers where I can make jars and jars of pickles. So last year was not good. This year I'm going to be changing it up. I'm going to be growing a large variety of tomato in here. Don't mind the jet plane flying over my head. When you're in the middle of North Jersey, you know, central North Jersey, you have lots of planes going to the airports. Anyway, I'm going to do 2 varieties of tomatoes on either side. They're going to be bread and salt. So it's an ox heart variety of tomato, and it's a good slicer, but you can also make sauce out of it. So that's going to be amazing. Over here in these 2 containers, disregard the top. I'm going to be moving that. That's an old, like, animal. We had, I forget what we had in there. Maybe a guinea pig. It's like from years ago. I'm going to move that and do something with it. But the 2 totes on the bottom, I'm going to be doing zucchini, because again, this area right here gets like great sun, enough where hopefully they'll do good. That's a new addition this year. I never grew zucchini out here before, so hopefully that works out. I'm also going to be doing a tote right here. Now, I wanted to make a separate video about this, and I probably should. I made this water fountain. I make all my fountains, but this is my first concrete fountain that I ever made. So I should really do a whole video on this. Anyway, when the sun hits it, this whole thing gets the water down. This is not going to stay permanently like this. This is just because I tested it recently to make sure all the connections were like good and everything was great. So I'm going to be adding hopefully some concrete flowers, and I have a different base to put this in. So it looks a little bit better than just some janky bucket. Anyway, I think this is super cool. It's going to be super different, you know, but I like different. While we're talking about fountains, this is my other fountain, my little angel, just so nobody thinks I'm like, you know, some satanic Moloch person with skull fountains, you know, how people do. Anyway, this is my angel fountain. She's trying to, you can hear it burping. That's because the sun is just starting to hit the panel, the solar panel. I'm going to briefly run through the rest of this stuff because it's mostly flowers and I want to kind of keep this video short. So these are rose bushes. This turns into a beautiful red rose that smells absolutely amazing. Down here, I tried to kill this rose because it had some serious disease issues last year and I wanted to get rid of it, but now it's like growing back. I completely chopped it down and now it has fresh growth, so we're gonna see. This, I hate this. I need to get rid of it. I actually had 4 rose bushes just like this in my front garden beds and I ripped them all out. I'm doing it completely different out front this year, and this is the same variety, and it is super prone to pest pressure, diseases, all kinds of stuff, so I gotta get rid of it. I do not want it. Over here, these trellises are not going to stay here. I just wanted to put them somewhere. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. I got them this year. I'm excited. They're beautiful. But this is actually my compost. It's empty because I took everything out, and now I'm going to start building it up again for the summer. So here are some of my surprises that I wanted to talk about. You can see this little thing popping out here. That's a gladiola. It survived. I did not think it was going to. There's a little red tip of one coming out. There's a couple over here, so surprise. Here's my bleeding heart. I love it. I just think this is so pretty. I actually bought a few more I have to plant. My yard gets like a ton of shade, so I'm always looking for different stuff that will thrive in shade, not die. Okay, here's my beautiful clematis. This puts off the most beautiful purple flowers, and you shall see them. And it's just climbing up my juniper. Comes all the way from the bottom there, climbing up my juniper and fills out on top. And it's just beautiful. Okay, here's another surprise. These little grassy looking things, this is Liatris. Completely forgot I planted it. Completely forgot I planted it. This is an iris. I'm guessing I planted it. I can't imagine that I stuck it like in that little crawl space, but maybe I did. I don't know. Okay, so we're back in the garden for a moment. This is another surprise. So early in the spring, it was actually probably still winter, I saw this growing in one of my containers and I was like, wow, that's so weird. I have like a random wild chive growing in my container. And then I remembered that last year I actually planted chives, flowering chives. And I wasn't 100% certain on it, but I was like, you know what? They didn't grow last year. They did not grow at all. They were little seedlings, little grassy seedlings coming up, and then I didn't see them for the rest of the summer. But I was like on a hunch. I took it, I moved it, just hoping it was not some random weed that I was moving. And look at this. This is a flower bud. So yes, this is flowering chive. And they have some of the most beautiful, what is that? That's weird. Has some of the most beautiful flowers and the bees love them. So surprise. So I'm gonna end this video by saying, if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling in a rut, try a hobby. You know, there's so many hobbies out there. There are so many hobbies, so many things that we can get into. But I want to stress that it's important that it's something you're doing with your hands. You know, my friend that I spoke about earlier, he says his hobby is reading comic books. Okay, well that's, you know, I get it. It's fun to read. I love to read. I read tons of books. But I said, why don't you try drawing a comic book, creating a story? That could be a hobby. That could be a wonderful hobby. Different artistic things like that, where you're physically, you're using your brain, you're engaging your hands, and you are creating something. What made me think of this is my husband is taking up the hobby of blacksmithing. He got a little forge. It was super inexpensive on Amazon. It was like $80, and he's gonna take up blacksmithing. Now, he has other hobbies too. He rides dirt bikes. He just bought himself a Harley. So there's that. But you know what? He wants to engage in a different type of hobby. And I was thinking, man, this guy, my husband works so hard, and my husband works such long hours. Works like, easily 14 hours a day. And the plant, he's a supervisor at a plant. The plant that he works at gets to literally 115 degrees, steamy, hot, steamy 115 degrees in the summer. And he still wants to take his time and do something else. Because it's a de-stressor. It's a physical de-stressor. Some people work out and that's their hobby. A very good hobby. Again, it's a de-stressor. You're engaging your mind. You're engaging your body. And I think that society that, we've grown into kind of keeps us out of the creation mode. And, like I said from the start, human beings are creators. We are creators. And if we're not living up to that fullest part of ourselves, then, there could be a deep missing of something. So I'm going to leave you on that note. This video is definitely longer than I wanted it to be, but I haven't put one out in a while. So there's that. Oh, you know what? I am actually, I wish you could see it. I'll try to zoom in. There's a dark-eyed junco. Oh, he took off. They are the sweetest little birds. I'm such a nerd. Such a freaking nerd. Anyway, what I am actually going to do, I'm going to end this on showing you my seedling update. So I'm going to take you inside, and I'll see you in a moment. All right, so we are inside my house. These are my plants. I'm just going to move these lights for a moment so you can get a glimpse. So here is the progress on all my seeds. I did separate some of the tomatoes already. I need to do it again one more time into, individual pots. Here I just have a wildflower mix. My mother-in-law gave me a packet of seeds, and I just want to see what they're going to do. Here are some nasturtiums. What else do we have? This is chamomile. Actually, I desperately need to separate that. These are some snapdragons. Just trying to go through. And we have some beautiful cosmos. Those are the ferny looking ones in the back. And then over here, this is all my super warm weather crop stuff in these pots that they have not sprouted yet. I actually have to water them right now. So zucchinis, Kajari melon. What else do I have? Basil, cucumbers, 2 varieties of cucumbers. So I have a couple different super warm weather crop seeds going, starting over there, and they grow super fast, which is actually why I planted them so late. I wonder, I gotta check on this stuff. Anyway, yeah, so everything's going good. They're growing like crazy. I have so many plants that, I do grow too many. I do not have room for all this stuff in my backyard, but I give a ton away. I want to bless people with plants. I want everybody to try at least growing something. You know what I mean? I want everybody to try. So I want to bless as many people as possible with the will the little bit of will, I want to bless them with some plants. Oh, this is cool. Before I end this, this is actually lavender. I have never grown lavender from seed. I tried it once before. It did not work. But those are lavender. And I have successfully propagated lavender by a cutting, which was hard. But I did it, and it was great. But now I'm going to do it from seed. Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Looking at my backyard, seeing the insider take of what the deal is back there. I hope everybody has a great weekend coming up. It's going to be a long weekend for me, which is amazing. Let me put my little rickety setup here back. I'll fix this after I'm done. Alright guys, all my love to everybody, blessings to everybody. Have a great upcoming weekend. Have a great spring. And that's all. Peace out.